This Crev's corner, the ball is in your court. Swish.
One. What's up, guys? This is the 12th episode of Crev's Corner. My name is Brayden Krevling. I am your host of Crev's Corner, and today we're going to be breaking down the 2021 NFL Draft that happened last Thursday. I'm here with my roommate and co-host for this episode, Nathan Keener. If anyone that I trusted to talk about the NFL, especially the draft and the upcoming college prospects going into the league, it would be this guy. And I think he's really got some insightful information to share with you guys. So at first, Nathan, we're going to break down the first round of the draft. Obviously, a lot of these picks were set in stone before they got selected. We have number 1, Trevor Lawrence of the Clemson Tigers going to Jacksonville under new head coach Urban Meyer. Talk about Trevor Lawrence. He's one of your guys, or he's one of your favorite players, and yeah, he's just a phenomenal talent.
Yeah, I mean, I've known about this guy since high school. I used to watch the Elite 11 competitions. I was into all of that. I mean, this kid's been special since then. He's 6'6", 220, massive arm. Like, it's been understated. People say, yeah, generational, but he really, truly is. Some of the things he does, the experience he has. He's lost 4 games since high school. That's 7 years. The kid's a winner. He just wins no matter what. He processes plays fast. He's just experienced. I mean, you can't say enough good things about him. You really can't.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence came into his freshman year not knowing if he was going to start or not, and actually didn't start the first game of his career, and then ends up becoming a national champion, throwing 90 touchdowns and only 17 interceptions in 3 seasons. So when we talk about phenomenal talent, I mean, people compare him to guys like John Elway and Peyton Manning. So when you talk about Trevor Lawrence, he is a clear-cut, no doubt, first pick in this draft. Now,
I'm a Clemson fan. I mean, I've liked Deshaun Watson. He was one of my guys. And after Deshaun was gone, it was Kelly Bryant. That was their quarterback. And he played good a year. He got them to the Orange Bowl. They won that. And then, yeah, this Trevor Lawrence comes in, generational talent, and you couldn't keep him off the field for long. You really couldn't. Kelly got a concussion in the Clemson game, and Trevor came in and never lost a job since then. Led him to that national title, and just, yeah. Kelly transferred to Missouri, and after that, yeah, you haven't heard from him again. That's just what Trevor Lawrence does. He's generationally special. He takes guys' spots. He's going to do in the NFL. Lead the Jags to big things. I truly believe that. I truly do.
No, rightfully so. Trevor Lawrence is going to be one of those guys for the next 10 years in the NFL that's going to make defensive coordinators lose their jobs, essentially. Moving on to the second pick, we have Zach Wilson from BYU going to the New York Jets. I think this is a good pick for the Jets. Now, when we talk about Zach Wilson, he wasn't really in the top 3 pick mix up until the end of the college season. What do you think changed, and how do you think Zach Wilson snuck his name into them top 3 picks?
Yeah, he's a guy that kind of came out of nowhere. He really did. Yeah, he may play out at BYU. They play traditionally. They're not a conference, so they don't play conference schedule. They get other teams in. So for their senior year with COVID, they didn't have a schedule. It got trashed. So they had to schedule teams really late. They couldn't really get big powers. So, I mean, yeah, he played weaker competition, but boy, he dominated. He really did. I was watching, it was a Thursday night game, I believe, and I just turned on BYU, and this kid he popped. His arm is special. Like, truly, it's just crazy stupid, to be honest. Some of the arm angles he gets, that's where the Mahomes comparisons come in. And I wouldn't go Mahomes. I wouldn't go that far, but he's got a truly special part of his game with that arm, and it's crazy. It really is.
Yeah, Zach Wilson looks like he's going to be starter of number 1 starter for the New York Jets going into week 1. Like you said, the comparison to Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers is getting thrown out when draft night happened. Zach Wilson just seems like one of those guys where you talk about his arm and his mobility that seems like he can really make the Jets kind of overcome the Sam Darnold hangover and really get them a couple wins on their board with the first round draft class that they did have this year.
There's a few comparisons I had with him during the season. I thought kind of a Baker and Johnny mix. Like, he has that wildness to his game. He can get out, roll out. the term was he thrives in chaos, and some people say that's a bad thing, and he puts himself in it. He rolls out because he knows he has the arm count to make whatever throw. If he has a pocket, he'll sit there and stay, I believe. But a comparison I really like is another former BYU quarterback, Jim McMahon for the Bears. Just that he's got a really special arm, just wild, crazy, reckless. Sometimes he'll make you look really good, and some other times he'll struggle. But yeah, the Jets got a good one. They really did.
Moving on to the next quarterback selected in this draft, number 3, a lot of reports came out that Mac Jones of Alabama was going to go to the 49ers. There came out that Kyle Shanahan really liked him. But your guy, Trey Lance Jr., Colin Coward's guy, got drafted by San Francisco. So talk about Trey Lance and how he became the 3rd pick instead of Mac Jones.
Yeah, before the start of the year, I thought he was the 2nd quarterback because Zach Wilson came out of nowhere. I thought Trey Lance was that guy right below Trevor Lawrence. He's just got sky-high potential. He's 6'4", 225. He's patient in the pocket. He really gets out. He's athletic. He moves well. But the Mac Jones stuff, you truly could never believe it. If you're going to trade up to take a quarterback, you're not going to take one that's almost at his floor. And that's what Mac Jones really is. Trey Lance is just sky-high potential. And with Kyle Shanahan, George Kittle, Debo, Brandon Ayuk, with that run game, yeah, he can do some special things.
Moving into number 4 spot, we're going to the NFC Atlanta Falcons. They drafted a tight end from Florida, Kyle Pitts. A lot of guys say that this is the lock of a Hall of Famer, that he's going to fit right in their system. So talk about Kyle Pitts and what he can do to help Matt Ryan and an aging Julio Jones get over the top and try to get and fight for that division title.
The hype coming in for this kid is so high. It's almost like if he's not a Hall of Famer, it's almost a bust at this point. That's truly what it is. He's just an athletic freak. He's 6'5 and a half, 245, and then goes out and runs a 4.44. Sure, some of the pro day times were a bit off, but he maybe ran a 4.46. That's still wicked fast for a tight end. The comparisons that are thrown out that, he's just a Megatron, they're going to move him to wide receiver. I don't buy that at all. He is a willing blocker. He will get his body in there and he will block. He may not have the frame now, but the way these tight ends in the NFL work out, you got George Kittle, he's got this big horse farm, and now TJ Hawkinson's going there, Robert Tonyan's going there. It's basically a tight end just workout thing. There's rumors that Kyle Pitts might go do that. I've seen on Twitter that Kittle reached out to him. He did. And if he goes there and gets bigger and stronger, yeah, there's not a way to stop him. And if you keep him at tight end, that's where the mismatches come. You can put, Jalen Ramsey out on him on the edge, but you put him in the tight end in line. That's where you get the linebackers. That's where you get the smaller safeties, the nickels. That's where the mismatches come. And if they keep him there, I'm not sure there's a way to stop him. And that's Matt Ryan. His job's safe now for a few more years at least. And now he's got a really, really nice little toy.
Yeah, especially if they can keep Julio Jones healthy. I mean, Julio Jones has had problems with health and staying on the field, but Matt Ryan has more options now, I think, that he's had in the past couple of years. And I think that Kyle Pitts is one of those guys where he's too fast for a linebacker, but too big for a safety. And I agree with you when we see that he's going to become a mismatch problem on Sundays. Staying in talented receivers, we are going to number 5 pick. Going to the AFC North, Jamar Chase out of LSU gets drafted by Cincinnati. We watched draft day and we had our own questions with this pick. We didn't know if Cincinnati wanted to go offensive line to try to protect Burrow in that knee that he just hurt last year. But reports came out that Burrow wanted Chase and texted Chase saying, "Get your bags packed, come to Cincy." So if Burrow wants his guy, then that's what Cincinnati's going to do for their franchise guy. But what questions and concerns do you think of when you're drafting another wide receiver when you have Tyler Boyd and all those weapons in Cincinnati?
Yeah, this decision's all on Joe Burrow. He went and they got his guy for him. He went to bat for his guy. He said, screw protection. I want a receiver. So he's got about 2 seconds to get that ball out. I mean, they improved that line a little bit, but you can only improve it so much from how bad it was. And I thought Penei Sewell was the smart pick. Ever since he tore his ACL, just tore up his knee, Burrow did. You figured they were going in line. And these rumors came out hot and heavy, and they were legit. Jamar Chase to the Bengals, and he only played one college season, like big time. And then he opted out, but that college season was special. Him and Burrow did amazing things. They won that national title. He's 6'6", he's 200 pounds. He's not a big physical guy, but boy, he's strong. And he'll go get that ball. He's a hands catcher. He goes and grabs it. Runs a 4.38. There were some times at LSU that they sure didn't seem right, but still, you're going to run a 4.4. That's blazing speed especially for 200 pounds being physical. And now, I mean, they got the best wide receiver core in the NFL. You got Jamar and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd in the slot. Burrow's got weapons. It's just a question of, does he have the time to throw?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, especially with the defensive powered AFC North that he's going to be having to face 6 games this year, which is going to be a big question mark to see if Burrow can get the ball to his weapons. I mean, we talk about he has weapons, but can he drop back and get time to throw the ball and get it out?
It's not very easy to stop Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, but they think they can do it without Penei Sewell, so good luck to you.
Let's see if this backfires on Cincinnati or if it ends up working out for Joe Burrow and his guy. All right, going to the Miami Dolphins. They took wide receiver Jalen Waddle. You have your feelings about the wide receiver room in Alabama, and you like Devontae Smith a lot. So talk about Jalen Waddle. How did Jalen Waddle sell himself to the Miami Dolphins over a Devontae Smith? They got questions about Tua Tagovailoa, and you didn't know if they were going to trade up for a quarterback, if they're going to trade back because they didn't like what they had. Talk about the Dolphins situation, drafting Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, we were talking about Joe Burrow going to bat for his guy, and Tua did the same thing right here. You know that front office went and said, hey, which one do you want? And he went to bat for his guy. He chose Jalen Waddle over the Heisman Trophy winner. And that's not something I agree with. I really don't. But Waddle's quick. That's what the NFL is going to, is quick speed, just athletic. He's 5'10", 183. He runs a 4.37. These Tyreek Hill comparisons are getting out of hand. Tyreek Hill runs what, a 4.27? Waddle ran a 4.37. That's just, there's not another Tyreek Hill. There's not another LeBron James. There's not another Michael Jordan. Some people are one of one. And I hate to admit it, but Tyreek Hill, he's one of one. And sure, Waddle's quick and shifty, but you can't compare him to Tyreek Hill. I think he fits that offense, though. I mean, you put him in the slot. You got Devontae Parker on the outside as your possession receiver. You got Will Fuller. He's your deep threat. They signed him. I think they'll just send him deep now, and then Waddle's your underneath guy. They'll run the slots. They'll run them quick routes across the middle, and they'll get open. It's just a matter if he can make plays after him. If he did like he did in college, yeah, the Dolphins might have got a steal. Even though they traded up to get it, which we got to remember that. But still, they got the draft capital. They'll be okay.
Well, Jalen Waddle's success in his first early years all are on the shoulders of Tua Tagovailoa, and see if he can come out and be the quarterback that the Dolphins expected him to be when they drafted him. Going to Detroit Lions at number 7, Penei Sewell, the left tackle, which they came out and said that he was going to play left guard from out of Oregon. This seemed like a guy that a lot of teams needed, but passed up on, like we talked about Cincinnati. Could have got him, and we thought that was a smart pick. Penei Sewell, where do you see him fitting into Lions? I mean, that line is atrocious, and they just recently acquired Jared Goff in the Jared Goff-Matthew Stafford trade. So how do you think Sewell fits in the Lions?
Dan Campbell, he came out in his press conference and he said they were going to be a physical team. They were going to come down on your throat, and they got a guy to do that. He's 6'6", he's 331 pounds. Gets out, he runs on the edge. I don't know offensive linemen, but you turn on this guy's tape and it's pretty fun to watch. He's just demolishing people. They don't even have a chance against him. You put him on that line, DeAndre Swift, just run behind that man. You follow him. They just signed Frank Ragnow, I believe it is, to the center. He's a center. They signed him to a rookie or the record contract for a center. I'm sorry. And, just run that ball up the middle between them guys. And it gives Jared Goff some protection, but I don't feel like he'll be there for long. The nice thing about this pick is it helps your 2022 draft pick because I think they're going to be tanking. Some of the NFL, you have to have a quarterback. Sure, Jared Goff is a decent one, but there's a reason the Rams got rid of him and gave up first-round picks to go do it.
Yeah, Jared.
He's got it. He's got used to do a Super Bowl, but Jared Goff's Jared Goff. He's what he is. You take a tackle. It means you're not tanking, but you get a guy for down the road. It helps your draft. And sure, tanking's not. Well, people don't really like it, but teams are going to do it. And I believe the Lions are in that mode right now.
And Jared Goff has been playing under Sean McVay for his whole, basically, essentially his whole career. Yeah, his whole career.
He don't have that anymore.
And he doesn't have that anymore. So he has all the pressure on him to figure out if they went to the Super Bowl and if it was just a fluke season or if Jared Goff can be a legit quarterback with a bad team. Rams weren't the worst team, but they didn't have the best weapons. So we'll see what Jared Goff does in Detroit. Now going at number 8, Carolina Panthers made a move acquiring a 6th pick to trade Teddy Bridgewater, but they also went all defense this first round. They took J.C. Horn out of South Carolina, the first cornerback and first defensive player off the board. So how do you like this pick? Because a lot of cornerbacks went early in this draft. When you talk about J.C. Horn and Surtain and Cleveland got Newsome. So how do you like J.C. Horn being the first corner off the board?
Yeah, he's just aggressive. He's just a dog. He will jump on you. He'll jump down your throat and he'll go get it. He's 6'1", he's long, aggressive. If he sees the ball, he's going to go attack it. He's a hell of a player. His dad was Joe Horn. He's got the NFL genetics. He was a wide receiver for the Saints. I mean, you gotta stop the Saints, Bucks, and Falcons for the next how many years? You need someone to cover them guys. If anyone's going to cover Kyle Pitts or you put him outside, this is a guy you put out on him. He can get in his face, be aggressive, but hopefully Sam Darnold's the Panthers guy because there's a lot of people that question them passing on Justin Fields right here. A lot of people really question that. Sam Darnold's got some weapons, but passing on a guy like that for a corner, some teams are going to question that and some fans are going to, but I think it was the right move in the end.
Well, mentioning Justin Fields going to the next pick, the Denver Broncos, they recently acquired Teddy Bridgewater on draft day. There was a lot of people that didn't know if Justin Fields was going to go to the Broncos too, even if after the Teddy Bridgewater trade. And they went with Patrick Surtain II out of Alabama for corner. So a lot of people, I mean, those two teams traded with each other for a 6th-round pick in a later year. But a lot of people questioned if one of those two teams were going to go quarterback in either Mac Jones or Justin Fields was on their board. But how do you feel like those two teams passing up on Justin Fields? Do you think they'll regret it and go corner? Or how do you feel about Patrick Surtain's immediate impact going into Denver? I mean, that is a tough receiving core in that division all around when you're talking about the Chiefs and all that. So talk about Patrick Surtain and how do you think the teams, if they will regret passing up on Justin Fields?
Yeah, this is a division where you got to stop Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert for the next 15 years. So good luck to you with that regards. But, yeah, you got to get someone to cover. And they traded A.J. Boye. They had what's his name? They had Aqib Talib retire recently. So they've lost corners over the years, and they needed one. And Patrick Surtain's one of them guys from Alabama. He's been on the radar for a long time. And you watch on Saturdays, he never makes plays because they don't throw to him. He's that good. Like, they just don't bother throwing to him. So you never really know how good he is because he doesn't put up stats, but he's 6'2", he's long, he's smart. He's not the fastest, but he knows what he's doing. His dad was a DB. His dad's a DB's coach, and he's probably one of the most safest picks in this draft because you know what you're getting. You got to stop them. Get two guys, Herbert and Mahomes. People may think, yeah, you passed on Fields, but I'm a Drew Lock fan. I like Drew Lock. I think you give him some weapons. Cortland Sutton healthy. They really can. And they had to get help on that defense, and they got it.
Yeah, I think that Drew Lock is on a short leash when you're talking about the quarterback room in Denver. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a smart move, especially for what you're getting. It's a no risk and it's an all reward.
No risk at all, not
Mm-hmm.
at all. It's a smart move to make, and you have to, because even last year they're the team that played a game without a quarterback. You need quarterbacks, whether it's a starter or a backup. Teams need quarterbacks, and for a 6th round pick in this year's draft, there were guys going that people don't. They're not going to make an impact. It's really rare. You got an experienced quarterback that will come in and help you right away and possibly start. They said they're going to split time 50-50 in camp, so we'll see. But it's a really nice roster out there, and it's coming together. They can do some damage.
Yeah, especially with Sutton too. I really like him as a receiver. I mean, I firsthand witnessed seeing Sutton ball out, but Teddy Bridgewater is a good pickup, I think, for him, and it's a very good offseason move. Talking about quarterbacks being traded, at number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles didn't select a quarterback and selected wide receiver Alabama Devontae Smith. Now, this move, they stuck with Jalen Hurts because they traded Carson Wentz for a lack of picks to Indianapolis. So it looks like they're sticking with Hurts being their guy, at least for this year and the upcoming years. But talk about Devontae Smith. I mean, you're a big fan of his game, former Heisman champion. So
this man
is
guy. Oh, I can't say enough good things about him. He's 6'1", 170. He's got a 6'5" wingspan. Sure, he may weigh 170 pounds, and that's the weight. Fuck weight. I'm sorry, but no, I don't care. The dude just went out and won the Heisman in the SEC. Yeah, there may be SEC blowers, but it's the toughest conference in America. There's NFL players on that defensive side every week that he went up against. Every week. And just destroyed them. 170 pounds. What if he gets jammed off the line of scrimmage? His release off the line of scrimmage is so good he doesn't get touched. So it really does not matter. Yeah, they took a receiver over a quarterback, and sure, they may regret that too, but if the Colts make the playoffs, if Wynn starts a certain amount of games, that second rounder they got turns to a 1st round pick. So that could pay off for him in the long term with Carson Wentz being gone, but they got a new coaching staff in there. They're going to give Jalen Hurts a chance, and to give him that chance, you had to have weapons because they had none. You were throwing to Alshon Jeffrey when he was on the field, which was rarely. Deshaun Jackson, who was hurt all the time, like he always is. They drafted Jalen Reagor last year, who I like, but he's not a true number 1. He can be a nice complimentary number 2 with that speed, but they needed an alpha. They got one. This man, Derek Stingley next year is his highly rated cornerback. Top 5 pick guaranteed. This guy as a freshman, Derek Stingley for LSU, was one of the most NFL-ready corners as a freshman. But yet when Devontae Smith destroys him as a sophomore, doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter. This dude destroyed an NFL cornerback. He put 260 yards on his head. And, I mean, people saw what he did in the national championship. He had 260 at halftime and 3 touchdowns or 4. Ohio State fans really should be lucky this guy got hurt. And of all things, it was a pinky. It's not like, 170 pounds, he did something. It was a damn pinky. He's never been hurt, nothing. So I don't care what people say. This man is going to be a star in the NFL. And the Philadelphia Eagles got a hell of a freaking pick right here.
Yeah, I think Devontae Smith is going to be a perfect slot receiver when you talk about NFL personnel and how you build a wide receiver room.
Not even slot, but he can be an outside guy. It really is. Yeah, he may be 6'1", so he's not the tallest guy, but that 6'5" wingspan, he goes up and he gets balls. He high points them so well, and he tracks balls just so well. His route running is just, it's Devontae Adams. Like, it really is. He reminds me so much of him. Just his release, his routes. I loved watching this guy. You turn on tape and you can't say enough good things about him. He'll be a hell of an NFL player.
Yeah, human highlight tape for sure. Going to Chicago, number 11, they took the OSU quarterback Justin Fields. A lot of people thought with Mitch Trubisky that they were going quarterback, which was a no-doubter. A lot of people thought Justin Fields was going to go higher than number 11, and I think Justin Fields thought he was going higher than number 11. So give us a quick recap of how Justin Fields fell down and how a lot of fans who don't like this fit for Justin Fields, how it actually is a good fit, because me and you have had conversations like that, and I think this is a good spot for Justin Fields with Cordell Patterson. And literally, like you said, Chicago's problem has always been a consistent quarterback play. So talk about that for a little bit.
I think it's a great fit. And as an Ohio State fan I'm not personally, but I know very many. And I watch the Ohio State games on Saturdays. I mean, I'm here in Ohio. Ohio State's on every week. I turn on and watch them. I love college football. And yeah, he's a hell of a player. He really is. He lacks in reading defenses. And I think part of that is Ohio State's offense. And no one talks about it when they're talking about the busts with quarterbacks. It's their offense. It's made for college. In some ways, some universities are like that. They have better college players than pro players. That's not a problem to win in college. But the pro's a whole different ballgame. And it really is. And he's got to learn to read defense. He's got to learn to make quick decisions. He was out west working, but, I'm working on my 40 time. Okay. He was supposed to run a 4.4. He ran around there. Good for you. He's got wheels. He's athletic. He really is. 6'2", 227. Like I said, 4.4. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. But the Chicago Bears have been bad for how long? Because they don't know how to handle the quarterback situation. You should fix that problem right there, kid. You really should. You got Allen Robinson. You got who I love. His name's Darnell Mooney. Remember the name, folks. Darnell Mooney, he was a rookie last year out of Tulsa. Tulane, actually. Dude's a hell of a player. And he's going to be Justin Fields' best friend. He plays exactly like Chris Olave. He's got weapons there. They drafted a rookie last year, Cole Kmet. He's a tight end. Their problem is their offensive coordinator. Who's it going to be? Because Matt Nagy thinks he can call plays, and then he gives them up. And David Montgomery is good at football again. And now Nagy takes over play calling again this year. So they got Andy Dalton there. Andy Dalton can teach him a few things, but I think sooner rather than later he'll take that job. And their problem's been not having a quarterback. You should fix that problem. You got the defense there. You got a hell of an organization. Top 5 organization in the NFL. They got Da Bears for a reason. They're Da Bears. Like, they're a well-known organization. You went to a hell of a spot. Sometimes it's not bad to fall in the draft to get to a better team. There's a reason the Jags had the first pick. They suck. This team originally had, I believe they traded up from, was it 20? I believe it was 20 they traded up from to get this. They had the 20th pick. They're a good team. They almost made the playoffs. No, they did. Never mind, they did. With Mitch Trubisky of all people. Go in there, do your job, develop, and he should lead that team. He really should.
Yeah, Chicago did make the playoffs last season, losing to the Saints. Very, very well lost to the Saints, rightfully so, because the Saints were just that good last year, winning the AFC South. But I do think
we can stay on this subject though. Their team was so bad last year. They had that Nickelodeon slime game, and Trubisky threw that deep ball, and it dropped right through the receiver's hands, right through him. Like, Mitch Trubisky wasn't a bad player for him. He really wasn't, but now he's a backup for the Bills. Good for you. Go. He's an Ohio boy. We got to root for him. You really do. But Justin Fields, if his receivers can catch the ball, he's in a good spot.
Yeah, I think that Andy Dalton's definitely going to start for the first couple games of the season, and then Justin Fields is just going to take over and exceed that quarterback position for the Bears. Going into the 12th pick, we're going to the Dallas Cowboys. Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. I think this was a little bit of a stretch, but I mean, it was.
No.
You did
love the pick. The Dallas Cowboys did the right thing for once. Congrats, Jerry Jones. Congrats. As you can see, I'm a CD Lamb fan, so I got to root for these little, we'll say a nice word, bad people. So they made the right pick for once. They traded back, too, and got more picks. This was the Eagles pick originally. Devontae, they went up and got him. They went back and they got a guy they love. He's 6'3", he's 246, he runs a 4.36. He's an absurd athlete. He was a top 10 recruit that went to Penn State. He's a hell of a player. He's a pass rusher. He can play 3-4. He can be 4-3. They declined Leighton Vander Esch's contract. And a lot of people don't know that. That just happened right before the draft. We should have known when that happened that this was coming. I think it's a great fit. He's only got one weakness really, and that's he's not really good on the run game. He struggles with that at times, but when he sees the ball, he goes and gets it. He's aggressive. And once again, you're 246 and run a 4.36. I don't want to go up against that. I really don't. And the Cowboys think they're going to get Jalen Smith, Micah Parsons. Teams are going to go to that, like the Bucs got Devin White and Levante David. Teams now in the NFL really are going to more of a 4-2-5 to cover receivers. Teams are going to the spread. If they don't renew or re-sign Leighton Vander Esch and he's gone, I could see the Cowboys going to something like that. They drafted enough DBs later on in the draft that they could do something like that. And Micah Parsons and Jalen Smith, if you got two guys out there running 4.4s, that's pretty nasty.
Going to the 13th pick, we have the Los Angeles Chargers giving Justin Herbert some help with Rashawn Slater Jr. playing. He was an offensive tackle out of Northwestern, protecting his blind side, Justin Herbert. So I think this is a good pickup for the Chargers. How about you think?
Love this pick. They did what the Cincinnati Bengals didn't. They got a young quarterback and they protected him. They signed Corey Linsley this offseason and 3 other new linemen. So they rebuilt that whole offensive line. And this man right here is the crown jewel. He's the left tackle. You put him there. He's Justin Herbert's best friend for the next 10 years. Hey, protect this man. Keep his jersey clean. That's all I want you to do. And they got a good player to do it. He's 6'4", 315. He moves well. Once again, don't know lineman, but here's another one. You turn on the tape at Northwestern, and he was pounding dudes. They like to run the ball. Physical. He's smart in the pass protection. They got Herbert on a rookie deal. They got new coach. They got a hell of a roster there, and they can do some real noise with Justin Herbert for the next few years. They can do some real noise.
Talking about offensive linemen, New York Jets got Elijah Vera Tucker, the offensive lineman out of USC. He played left tackle for USC, but they're moving him to left guard. I think this is a good pick for Zach Wilson, just protecting him and kind of doing what the Jets didn't do with Sam Darnold, give him some weapons and give him stuff to work with. How do you feel about this pick?
Yeah, this is they traded up to get the guy they wanted. This was originally the Vikings pick, and I'm a Vikings guy, man. Adrian Peterson's one of my favorite players, and this was their pick, and they traded back. Jets went, and they wanted to trade up and get this lineman. They had the draft capital to do it from trades in the past. They didn't really burn any picks. They went and got Wilson protection, and it's smart. You got to protect your young quarterback. People see look what Baker Mayfield did last year when you get him protection. It's a big, big difference to have protection and not. Because when you don't have protection, you watch the Super Bowl. What happened to Patrick Mahomes of all people? He struggled because he got pressured all the time. They rebuilt that line too, and look, a team's investing in offensive line. It's not a sexy pick, but it's a smart pick. You got Mekhi Becton that you drafted last year. He's 6'8", big man. Now you slide this man in right next to him at left guard. He's 6'4", he's 310. Versatile, he played tackle and guard, so they'll put him at guard even later. You could kick him out to tackle or anything else. I think it's a smart pick, and yeah, Sam Darnold probably was not happy to see them investing in more offensive line.
Yeah, going to New England, we're talking about the 15th pick. You have the Alabama quarterback, Mac Jones, who a lot of people anticipated going in the top 3, top 5, and he drops down to number 15, kind of a slap in the face to all the reporters who thought that Mac Jones was going to go higher. Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick obviously saw their guys, saw that Cam Newton isn't a long-term investment. So how do you feel about Mac Jones dropping this low?
There were rumors they were trying to go up and get this man, and they stayed put at 15, and they got their guy. Of course, Bill Belichick gets something good. Like, damn, the Patriots finally get something good. They stayed put, and they got their guy. He's not the best player, but he's got every tool you want for an NFL quarterback. He's a smart passer. He's got a good deep ball, excellent deep ball. And if you give the kid weapons, he can be really good. They signed Hunter Henry. They signed John Smith. Signed Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne. They got N'Keal Harry there. Kid's got some weapons to throw to. And yeah, Cam's not their guy. But I think of all teams, they were one of the winners of this night because they stayed put and they got a dude. They were going to trade up and spend other draft picks, but they stayed. They got a dude they wanted, and he plays like Brady. He really does. As people don't want to say it, he's similar to Brady. I mean, look at the pictures with their shirts off. It's similar. And, I mean, Josh McDaniels can go and say, hey, Mac, here's the playbook we use for Tom. Pick out some plays you'll like. We're going to run these, and they can go win some games. And of all things, this is where teams don't value this and think about this, but you give Bill Belichick a quarterback with a rookie contract for the next 5 years. First round picks, they got that option. Rookie contract with Bill Belichick, and you can go spend money on that defense. This could be a really, really smart pick in a few years. And I hope he goes and does big things. I really do. People said, oh, you're going to go to San Francisco. He didn't. They took Trey Lance. He's not a bad player. It's just he's not really athletic, but he is a good enough quarterback that this was a smart pick and he had to do this.
Yeah, I think Mac Jones, under Bill Belichick, I very rarely would doubt a quarterback doesn't succeed under Bill Belichick.
I mean, that's the team. They've developed Jacoby Brissett. They've developed Jimmy Garoppolo. Jarrett Stidham, yeah, they still got him, but he could develop into something. I think he could. I loved him in college, loved him coming out, but this is a team that's developed quarterbacks in the past, and they've gone to places and started. Worst comes to worst, you went to a great spot. So good for Mac Jones. He went to a good spot to develop.
Going out west to Arizona Cardinals, they got Xavier Collins, a linebacker out of Tulsa. You are a really big Kyler Murray fan and think that Arizona can do some big things this year. So talk about your team and your pick.
Yeah, I've been a Kyler Murray fan since high school. He got into the league and started rooting for the Cardinals. I watched every game since, so I feel like I'm a fan right next to the Browns and Vikings. And sitting there before the draft, they said there was rumors they wanted to trade up and get a receiver, or if one fell to them. The Cowboys traded that 10th selection. It was up for grabs, and Arizona didn't go and get it. They stayed put, and I think they reached for a player, and I was not happy about it. Xavier Collins is a really good football player. Don't get me wrong. He's a 6'5", 260-pound linebacker. He runs a 4.67, so he's not the fastest. But think about it. You're 6'5". His 10-yard split was a 1.63. Devin White's was a 1.59. And Devin White runs a 4.38. So he's not going to chase you down, but if he's running from me to you, he's going to get you. He's a good football player. I think it was a reach. They teased all the fans. Oh, we'll get Kyler a weapon. They did later on, but this was a pick I feel like they could have traded back, and I didn't like it at all. But he's a good player. You put him there with Isaiah Simmons. They got J.J. Watt. They got Chandler Jones. They got Budda Baker in the back end. Got Byron Murphy there. They signed Malcolm Butler. That defense has got some pieces, and that offense, it's their last chance to do something, or Cliff Kingsbury's gone. Them rumors are hot. That's why it just shocked me they didn't go up and get Devontae Smith. But they stayed put. They went defense, and they're building it up where if Kyler stays healthy, they can do some things. They can do some real big things. I'm a true believer. DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals, look out.
We'll see if they can actually use all the moves that they've acquired over the past couple of years and really put the productivity out and see if they can fight for that division title. Staying out west, going to the 17th pick, the Las Vegas Raiders. Not a sexy one. Offensive lineman Alex Leatherwood. Gruden got some line to protect Carr. We don't know how many years Carr's got left for the caliber of he's playing. But what do you think about this pick? Do you think it's a smart one for the Raiders?
Yeah. It's a lineman. People may think it's not a sexy pick, but the Raiders like to run the football. They like to run right down your throat. They got a dude that's 6'5", 315, and he will gets his box quick and he'll go. He played at Alabama. You saw it. He dominated people.
I think
they run behind that line, and he was on there.
I think Josh Jacobs is going to be a really good back for this league, and I think that he's going to be a really good back for Gruden.
This is Trent Brown's replacement, though. He was a tackle they signed from the Patriots to a record deal. They traded him back to New England, of all places. Belichick gets another lineman and wins a pick. Imagine that. But this is their replacement. They rebuilt that line. They needed a lineman, and they took one. It's not a bad pick. It's just it's a lineman. But it's what the Raiders are doing, and it's the Raiders' pick.
Number 18 pick, we have the Miami Dolphins back on the board. They drafted Jalen Phillips, an edge rusher out of Miami. Some injury history, but how do you feel about Phillips? How do you feel like he's going to make an immediate impact on that Miami defense?
Yeah, this was the consensus top recruit coming out of high school. He was that talented. There's not a lot of times you see a defensive end be the number one recruit, and this was one of them. He was that good. Went to UCLA. We had to medically retire. He has concussion history with 3 of them. He wrecked his moped, which good for a college kid riding a moped. Guess you should probably be safe. But broke both of his wrists doing that. Had to medically retire. He went to pursue music. Went to Miami, and I want to play football again. And they got a good one. The kid is super talented. He's super talented. 6'5", 270, runs a 4.56. He's an edge rusher. And there were talks about Miami going running back here, Najee Harris, but I feel like that'd be too high. But they got Brian Flores, a defensive lineman, and if this kid can stay healthy and develop, he can be really good. He just hasn't been able to develop because he hasn't been healthy. If he can develop, the kid can be really damn good. They might have got a good player. Consensus top recruit for a defensive end. But once again, you're pretty damn good. You're pretty damn special. So smart pick here by the Dolphins.
Going number 19 pick, the Washington football team got Jermaine Davis,
yep.
the linebacker out of Kentucky. You have pretty high hopes for the Washington football team this year. And I think if they have a quarterback that can lead that team with that wide receiver core, Terry McLaurin and Samuel, I think that team could really surprise some people in that division. We obviously know that that's a weak division, but how do you feel about this pick kind of making the other side of the ball stronger for the Washington football team?
Yeah, this was one of them teams where I think they should have been one of the teams to trade up for a quarterback, and they didn't. They stayed put. They got Fitzmagic for this year. I think Fitzmagic with that receiving core, they can do some damage. They really can. And that defensive line, you put this man back there, let him roam free. Yeah, it could be really dangerous. Another guy that's 6'3", 235, so he's got the size. He runs a 4.48. He's an excellent tackler. He sees the ball, he goes and gets it. You turn on this guy's highlight, and he goes. He's fast. He's a playmaker. He just hasn't had the experience, and experience really matters. A young guy, he only really played one serious year, but that was a really good year. And I trust Ron Rivera. You gave him a linebacker, and just let that man groom him. He groomed some good ones in Carolina. Let him groom this man. You got Chase Young. You got them 4 first-round picks on that defensive line. Got a solid offense, solid line. This is a really good team that can go compete. They were in the playoffs last year with Alex Smith, and then they played Taylor Heineke. I think Alex Smith was a good pick. They wasted one on Dwayne Haskins, but they got Fitzpatrick. This should be a good pick for this year, but in the long run, I feel like they should have traded up for a quarterback. But Ron Rivera gets a linebacker, he gets a guy, go develop him.
Staying in that division, we have the 20th pick of the 2021 NFL draft. It is the New York Giants. They drafted Kadarius Toney, the Florida wide receiver that played alongside Kyle Pitts. Do you think that he even makes a difference? New York Giants traded. They must have not liked what they had at first on the available, and they drafted back to get this guy. How do you feel like Tony fits into that system with Ingram and Daniel Jones throwing the ball to him?
Yeah, this was the Giants team. They were sitting there at 11, and seemed like they were all ready to take Devontae Smith, and that's where the Eagles jumped them. They went from 12 to 10. I feel like the Cowboys at that point said, let's see here. The Giants are closer to being better than the Eagles. We'll trade this pick not to the Giants. So the Giants traded all the way back there. And I felt like they had a real reach. I thought, what the fuck are you guys doing? He's 5'11", he's 193. He was a high school quarterback. He's just super raw. Runs a 4.39. He's got quickness. He's shifty. But you trade back and you don't get Devontae Smith and you settle right here. I didn't like the move. There's some receivers later on we'll talk about that. I just felt like they should have went there. They got a weird receiving core now. They signed Kenny Galladay. They got Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard. It's a weird receiving core, and I guess with Galladay and Slayton, you wanted to go a slot guy, and he gives you that. But I wasn't impressed when I watched him. I really wasn't. I watched Florida games for Kyle Pitts. Wasn't really impressed by this guy. He's my 10th ranked receiver, and he went in the first round. And I really think it was a bad pick. Really thought, what the hell are the Giants doing? But it paid off in the second round with their pick. They got a guy they were gonna take here, and I thought they should have took the other guy here, but they got Kadarius Toney, and seemed like at the end of the draft, the rumors were getting around that he was going to go first round, whether it was to Washington or the Packers or the Saints or something like that. And he went 20th. This was a player, too, that the Jags were also upset that they couldn't get. This is the guy the Jags said they're going to take at 25. So if Urban Meyer sees something in him, I guess I got to, but I just don't. I think it was a bad pick, and hopefully it works out for the Giants.
And also, Giants were one of those teams that I wouldn't have complained if Justin Fields went, and I think it would have been a good situation opening up. But it looks like they're investing in Daniel Jones in the long run, and
that's where Justin Fields went, was pick 11, and that's what they had. They could have took Fields, and they traded back.
I wish that Giants would have taken Justin Fields. I think he would have been a good fit for that team. Kind of put the hot seat on Daniel Jones and see if he would have been productive. But we're going to go to the next pick. We're going to go
just get the ball to Saquon and get out the way. That's what the Giants need to do.
We're going to go to number 21, going to the AFC. Indianapolis Colts take Kwity Paye, the defensive end out of Michigan. It looks like a good pick for that defense. Try to get them to get a Derrick Henry stopper of some sort. So how do you feel about that pick going to Indy?
Yeah, this was one of the guys where I wish you would have thought of Cleveland. I love this guy as a prospect. He's 6'3", 261, and runs a 4.52. That's wheels for a defensive end. He can play a 3-4, can play the 4-3, so he's versatile. He can learn from DeForest Buckner and Justin Houston. He's got some good veterans there. And he's got Darius Leonard as a linebacker. They needed a pass rusher, and they went and got one. He's a fast player. No, this is one of them guys, Ohio fans hate him, played at Michigan, but this dude was a player, and he was a good, highly ranked recruit, just never really developed. And he put up decent numbers as a senior sack-wise, but, yeah, this is the guy where he can develop into something. Colts got a good one.
Going into the next pick, number 22, we stay in the division with the Tennessee Titans. Caleb Farley, the cornerback out of Virginia Tech. A lot of cornerbacks have been taken up to this point, and this is kind of an iffy pick. How do you like this pick for the Titans?
This is honestly my top-ranked cornerback. This was a guy that I loved. I loved turning on this guy's tape and just watching him. He's 6'2", he's got 207 pounds, but he's got a 6'4" wingspan, but he runs a 4.28. And as a cornerback, that is just moving. That's just nasty. He was a high school dual threat quarterback. He went to Virginia. He transitioned to wide receiver. at Virginia. And then he had a little knee injury. Virginia Tech, sorry about that. He transitioned to quarterback because he wanted to be on the field faster. And he plays like an offensive player. He'll bait you into making some throws. He'll back off. He knows what routes you're running. He's a smart player because he plays like an offensive guy. And yeah, he's got back issues. He fell because of that. But this is a guy, if you give it a healthy back for 7 years, this going to be a guy where you just don't even throw to that side of the field because you're afraid to. He's got the speed and the ball skills to take it back to the house on you. And this was a guy projected to go 10th to the Cowboys for a long time, projected to go that range really high. And he fell, and the Titans went, and they went after it. They've done this before with Jeffrey Simmons, who's a D tackle. He had some injury or issues where he fell. They weren't scared. They take a talented guy. And as a football fan, I truly believe that talent will outweigh in the end. You can't teach a guy to run a 4.28 and do this stuff. If he has a good back, this will be the steal of the draft, I believe. And he can just eliminate a side of the field for the Titans.
Going to Minnesota, pick 23, another offensive tackle who really isn't a sexy pick, but they kind of need offensive tackle line to be solid for Dalvin Cook. You have Virginia Tech's offensive tackle, Christian Darrisaw. So how do you feel about that? I mean, Minnesota, it seems like they always got a solid ball club. So with an offensive tackle, there's nothing that hurts in this pick.
Yeah, this is a team where you got Dalvin Cook, and they want to run the football. They got Justin Jefferson and Thielen, but they're still a run-first team, and they got a tackle. They're just going to run behind him. He's 6'5", he's 315, athletic, explosive off the ball. He goes, he gets in your face, and he gets you off the line. That's what they need. Dalvin Cook needs a best friend to run behind. Love Dalvin Cook. Think he's the top 3 backs in the league. They got a guy, and they traded back. They think they should have stayed put. Got a good player, good defensive player, but they traded back. They got some assets. They got whatever quarterback's going to be there in the future. And, yeah, I think it's a solid pick. It's not sexy, but kid's fast and explosive, and that's always good.
Now, this next pick I'm a big fan of, even if it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's a steal for Nick. Najee Harris, the running back out of Alabama. I think it's going to be a great pick for Pittsburgh in the AFC North, and I think he's going to give a lot of teams fits. How do you feel about this pick? I mean, on draft day, we both looked at each other and we thought that this was an excellent pickup for Pittsburgh.
This is a home run selection. The running back may be a little bit devalued, but if there's a good one, you take him in the first round. Then the Steelers needed a back, and they got a 3-down workhorse. This kid is – I can't say enough things about him. I'm big into dynasty fantasy football. I've been wanting this man on my teams for 2 years now. You just get him the ball, whether it's pass catching, which he's excellent at and really underrated, or you hand him the ball, and he'll get outside. He fits that system very well. It's a power run blocking scheme that they got Matt Canada. They had problems last year running the football. Part of it was that line, but they're going to run the power run blocking scheme. I looked it up. Has the backside guard pulling at all times. So you run the opposite way like a counter, and that guard pulls. The Steelers' 2 best offensive linemen are the guards. They got Kevin Dotson and David DeCastro. So that scheme fits for them. They didn't have that last year. You get a back in there like Najee Harris, that's 6'2", 232, runs a 4.41. He's got a 6'6" wingspan that'll just put his arm out, stiff arm you, or, well, you've seen he'll just hurdle you. And this kid is ridiculous. He really is. One of my guys I like, he's Ray G. His comp for him is Matt Forte and Steven Jackson, a mix. And that's a really good mix. Those were 2 solid players. And hate that he went to the Steelers, but by God, this kid's going to be some problems there. He really is 3-down workhorse, and they're going to run that man to death.
Yeah, being compared to Matt Forte and Steven Jackson is definitely a compliment in the slightest. Staying in the running backs drafted, you have Clemson's running back of pick 25 to Jacksonville, joining the backfield of his quarterback in college, Trevor Lawrence. You have Travis Etienne. I think that this was a good pick, and I called it. I said this would be awesome if Jacksonville picked him up, just to add a little bit of Marquise Jones-Drew back in
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Back in the backfield. Kind of a light in his shadow. So how do you like this pick? I mean, you were a big Clemson fan, so how do you like ETN going to Jacksonville?
This is a man that he was a college superstar. He's the ACC's all-time leading rusher. Trevor Lawrence is a generational prospect at quarterback, and this man won 2 ACC Player of the Years over him for offense. This kid is legit. He's a monster back there. He's 5'11". He weighed in at 215 at his pro day. He looked a little chunky. You could tell he put on some weight to do that. He might play around 210, 205, but he runs a 4.42. He doesn't have that. I don't know how to explain it. He's got that home run speed. He's not going to run away from you short distance, but once he gets out on the open, he's got long, powerful strides, and he'll just run by you. This was a guy last year. He was projected to go last year. He was one of the top backs last year's class, and people seen how that worked out with Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Clyde Edwards, Antonio Gibson. He was one of them guys last year at the top being talked about, and he went back to school. He really, really, really improved that receiving game. He went doubled that in his production. Still produced as a runner, and he's got some mileage on him. I'd say that's one of the only issues, but this is a guy where he's just a freaking football player, and you take a guy that's good at football. It's a little questionable I think they could have got him at 33 with their second-round pick, but there were rumors the Bills wanted to take him at 30, and the Bills need running back. So probably smart to take him, but this is a team, too, where they have James Robinson there. He was an undrafted player last year back there at running back. He produced. He did. But the kid also had no competition. His competition was Chris Thompson. And if you don't know who that is, that's probably because he's not really good at football. He took over that backfield last year with no competition. They were trying to lose. He has no long-term value to that team. His contract's up in 2 years for next year. And they'd re-sign a running back. People don't want to pay running backs this young. So you draft one, you get him on a rookie deal for 5 years, 4+1, and they could either keep that two-headed monster and do like the Browns. You got Kareem and Chubb. They got that contrasting styles, and this is a guy. He does some similar things to Robinson running-wise, but passing-wise, this man's going to take the offense to a new level. And he's with his quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, and Urban Meyer got a guy he can use. He's got a toy, and I want to see how he uses them so much.
Yeah, you just mentioned the team that we're going to be talking about the next with pick 26, Greg Newsome II, the cornerback out of Northwestern. I think this was a solid pickup for the Browns defense that they're trying to improve in order to take that next step to be contenders of the AFC Championship. So how do you like the Newsome fit? You like him in Cleveland?
Everyone saw last year, the Titans game, the Browns got up real big. And as a Browns fan, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this is the worst possible thing because teams have to pass to come back. Browns got passed all over last year. Steelers, Titans, a lot of teams passed all over them. And they needed to get guys back there. They addressed some needs in free agency, and they addressed another need in the draft, and they got a solid corner. Good at Northwestern. He's smart kid there. He is good in coverage. He processes plays real smart. He's 6'1", 190. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the fastest guy, but he's a solid football player. It's a smart pick. It's not sexy. Smart pick, though, and good for the Browns. They got now back there. They got Denzel. They got Troy Hill. You got Greg Newsome. You got my guy, Greedy Williams, coming back, hopefully healthy. Cross my fingers. But you got that secondary, and, it's a good one now. Cleveland's ready to go compete. And it's always good to have a corner. They got one, and he's a solid player.
Yeah, definitely the AFC North is going to have to improve their secondaries with offensive weapons coming in this draft, especially at pick number 27, Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota, the wide receiver. Lamar Jackson just loves working the open middle of the field, and he needs targets that can complement that. Bateman's inside and outside versatility, route running, his hands make a perfect fit for this offense. If Lamar can dot the ball up, and people already know what they can do on the run game with J.K. Dobbins in the backfield. So I think Bateman is a perfect fit. As a Lamar fan and a fan of the passing of the football, I think Bateman's a perfect fit for Lamar.
This is a guy that I rave about. This man is just a freaking football player. There were rumors he was 6'2", 210, but Minnesota apparently lied to us all, and he measured in at 6'1.5", 190. But he also ran a 4.39, which he was expected to run a 4.5. So sure, it weighs a little bit, but the dude's a football player. You watch the same tape at what he thought he was at 6'2", and he's at 6 foot. He did the same thing. He won Big Ten Receiver of the Year as a sophomore at Minnesota with Tanner Morgan. That's bad. Sorry, that's a bad team, and he really stuck out. And this man he's nasty. He's a route running technician. He's similar to Devontae Adams and Keenan Allen. He's got that route running. Not the biggest guy, but he's smart, and he runs his routes. He's got a good release. Strong hands. He'll go out. He's one of the guys where I loved watching film on him. He doesn't catch the ball at his body. He goes out and snatches it. He's got big, strong hands, and he'll go up and get the ball. There's a lot of plays where he's going up. Odell Beckham one-handing. He's got one reaching out one-handed. The dude's a jump ball guy, and I hate the Ravens, but Lamar's got a guy, and I got to root for him now, sadly, because this is my guy. He was my wide receiver too, and this dude's really good. I bumped him down because of the Ravens fit, though. I really don't like it, but you got to trust the talent, and Lamar's got a talented guy. The Ravens were 10th in the red zone last year in passing percentage or throwing percentage. I saw that, and Lamar's got a target in the red zone. Throw it up to the man, and he'll go get it. Just throw it to a pylon, he'll go get the damn thing. Just don't ruin this man, please, because he's one of my favorite players in the draft. Should not have stayed this long, but the Ravens got a freaking steal. Rashad Bateman, watch out for on Sundays.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman, definitely. If you guys have never heard of this guy, he's a human highlight tape. He's ridiculous on the field. Going to the NFC South, we have the New Orleans Saints that were just a couple games away from the Super Bowl. They drafted a defensive end at 28, Peyton Turner out of Houston. Just someone to compliment Cam Jordan, how talented their defense is. Do you have anything to say about this pick?
Yeah, this is a pick for the future. This really wasn't this year. This guy's got huge upside. He's super raw. He went into college at 220. He bumped up 50 pounds in college to get to 270. So think about it. He went into college. He's been playing at a different body weight every single year. He's getting bigger and bigger. This is just a raw man. But at 6'6", 270, he gives effort. He's fast. He's a smart pick, and he played at Houston. They've developed some D linemen to the NFL. This is a pick for the Saints' future, and there are rumors they're going to trade up to get Mac Jones. Those never progressed. They stayed put, and it's not a sexy pick. They may not like it because they needed receiving help, but he's a good football player. He can develop into something. They lost Trey Hendrickson to the Cincinnati Bengals. They needed a pass rusher. They drafted one, and there were some better guys on the board at this point, but this is the guy where he's super raw. And that seemed like a common theme in the draft where these D linemen are just raw and they just haven't had the experience, but they got all the tools, and that's what you draft for. This kid has all the tools. This is why he went here.
Staying in the NFC with the elite teams, we have the Green Bay Packers, who have been one game away from the Super Bowl for the past 2 years, and they really had a lot of draft day drama. Aaron Rodgers, their franchise quarterback, reported didn't want their GM still in the building and said that if he's there, that Rodgers is out. He's shown interest in being a host for Jeopardy, and Rodgers is all over the place with these reports, and he is very unhappy with the situation. And then it seemed like Green Bay kind of gave him the FU finger by drafting Eric Stokes, a cornerback out of Georgia, not even trying to make an effort to reel in Rodgers and getting him a weapon. Drafting Jordan Love last year, kind of sticking it to Rodgers. So I don't like this pick at all for Green Bay, but this just seems like a very big redemption pick to get back at
This
Rodgers.
is just questionable on so many different levels. Just the Packers organization in general. If you're a Packers fan on here, I'm looking you in the eye. I sincerely apologize because Paul Gutekunst has ruined your organization. He really has. And this isn't a bad pick. It's really not. It's just when Aaron Rodgers comes out and if you have to trade him, it doesn't matter who you pick here. You're losing on that draft day. This kid's good, though. He really was. He played at Georgia. He's 6'1", 195. He was a high school sprinting champ. He's quick. He's got wheels. He's just super raw, but he closes on the ball quick. He goes and gets it. They had a need at corner. There was talk that they were interested in Rashad Bateman. This was a spot that I loved for Rashad Bateman. Loved for a lot of receivers. They took a corner. It was a team need, so it was a good pick, but you fucked over Aaron Rodgers, and it's too late now. You ruined it, and it didn't matter what you did here. They took a smart player because I think they've realized, oh, shit, it's either too late or, well, we can keep playing this game, and Rodgers ain't going to play it. He's really not. It's either Paul Gutekunst or Aaron Rodgers. What's easy to replace? A guy to make picks or a guy to throw touchdowns? I'm going to go with the guy that throws touchdowns. A former MVP, literally this past year, 3-time MVP. It don't matter what you did here, but they addressed the need. It's a smart pick, but just you don't know what to do.
Yeah. The last 3 picks of the 2021 NFL draft, with number 30, the Buffalo Bills picked defensive end out of Miami, Greg Rosario. Baltimore picked Jason Owe with number 31, an edge rusher out of Penn State, and the former NFL champions with number 32 picked Joe Tyron out of Washington. You got anything to talk about these 3 guys? Who pops off the charts when you talk about these 3 defensive ends round out the first round?
We just got done talking about what Jalen Phillips and Peyton Turner had, and they got all the traits to be successful NFL pass rushers, and these are some other guys. Gregory Rosario here at 30. Oh, this is a man. He's 6'6", 265, and runs a 4.68. He's got wheels, and he's strong, and he really will just go past you. His college career was a red shirt, and then he had 15 and a half sacks, which was second to only Chase Young. We see what he's doing. And then he opted out last year. So we've only had 1 season of productivity, but that season of productivity was the second best sack man in college football. And right below Chase Young, that's pretty good company. So they could have got a steal here. We go to the Ravens. They got Owe. He's 6'5", 260, runs a 4.39 with 34-inch vert. Dude's a freaking athlete. But he's a little bit of a project. They're going to put him at that 4-3-4 outside linebacker. They lost Matt Judon to the Patriots. And, I mean, they drafted a player for the future. And this is a man where the Ravens always draft good defensive players. They know what they're looking for. And this is one where if you got a guy running a 4.39 off the edge, that's just a problem. And Joe Tryon, he was the guy that was mocked to Cleveland in the second round. I saw people raved about this guy from Washington. He's not talked about out there. No one really watches out west. Let's be honest. We're all out east here. It's hard to watch Pac-12 at night. And this is a guy you watched, and I saw on a few Pac-12 at nights. He gets to the quarterback. He's 6'5", 260, just a pass rusher. And when he won the Super Bowl, you don't have to address a lot of needs. They signed back a lot of players. They took a guy that they liked. He was high on their board, and they took him. Good pick.
So that rounds out our first round breakdown. I'm going to give Nathan the floor to talk about some of the good picks that happened post first round. I'm not really knowledgeable on it, so I cannot wait, along with you guys, to hear some of the guys. We're just going to talk about a few key players that got drafted in the second, third, fourth round that we're going to see immediate impact on Sundays.
Yeah,
so take it away.
This is another thing where you play fantasy football. These are the guys you're going to see on Sunday. They're going to be productive. They're going to be making the plays, scoring the touchdowns. These are what people watch the draft for. No one watches the draft for linemen, let's be honest. But here we go. At the second pick of the second round was Elijah Moore. He's 5'10", 180, runs a 4.35. He's a hell of an athlete. He runs crisp, clean routes, and he's got good production. He absolutely went off in Lane Kiffin's offense last year. He came from Ole Miss. He played there with DK and A.J. Brown. And they raved about this guy. A.J. Brown, you saw there was a movie or media going around on Twitter. He was crying when he got drafted. This kid, A.J. Brown, saw something in this kid, and he's a hell of a football player. He's going to be Zach Wilson's best friend. He really will be. They're going to put in the slot. He's going to make plays, and got excellent yards after the catch ability. Solid pick for them. And move on to 35 here. We got Javonte Williams. I'm a North Carolina fan. This is one of the guys that I loved. He really is just not even fanboy biased. He's just a hell of a football player. He's 5'10", 212. He's not the fastest guy. He runs a 4.55, but he's physical. He will run your ass over. He goes through you. He's smart enough. He's got the speed to get outside when he needs to. He's got good vision. Cut back ability. He'll see the blocks. He'll cut back. He's got good hands out of the backfield. He's a complete back. And this is a guy where I see a lot of Nick Chubb in him, where he's just explosive. He'll run you over. He doesn't care who's in front of you. The Broncos traded up to get this man. They traded up, and they got Melvin Gordon there. He's got 1 year left on his deal, and he's 28 years old. I'm a Melvin Gordon guy. I like him. He's a nice player, but Melvin Gordon asked for a lot of money every single time, and they're not going to pay a 28-year-old running back. They traded up. They got their guy for the future. You may not hear a lot about this year. They'll split carries, but a guy in the future where you'll be seeing him on Sundays and you'll want to take him in some fantasy drafts. Just trust me on that one. We go to 43. The Raiders picked here. His name's Trevon Merrick. He's a safety from TCU. He was the top-ranked safety. I loved watching this kid. I'm a Big 12 guy. I love Texas. Big 12 guy. This was a guy did big things in that conference. He's 6'1", 205, runs a 4.5. He's not the fastest, but he's a smart safety. He doesn't get burned over top. He always keeps the play in front of him. He's aggressive. He'll go get the ball. And best safety in the draft at 43. They had a good value. And for once, the Raiders did the right thing. They really did. They got a safety. It was a team need, and you can never have too many playmakers on defense, and that's what this guy is. Here at 45 and 46, we got two offensive tackles. These are Walker Little from Stanford going to Jacksonville, and Jackson Carman, he is an offensive tackle from Clemson, going to the Bengals. These two teams, they protected their quarterback. The Bengals may not have did it in round one, but they came back here and they got Trevor Lawrence's blindside protection in college. He knows how to protect a blindside. He may be a little bit of a, I don't know how you explain it. He's a bit raw still, but they got a good pick here. And once again, the Jaguars, they protected their young quarterback too. Big man. They just protected their quarterback. They put draft capital into it, and that's a big thing. Second round picks, they could have got a lot of players here. They took linemen. Bengals may not have got Sewell, but it's an all right consolation prize here. 47, we got one of my favorite players in the draft, Asante Samuel Jr. He's a cornerback from Florida State. This kid is just a competitor. He's 5'10", 180, so he's not the biggest, but the kid's fiery. And the one thing you heard when you heard people talk about him was he's feisty. And he plays exactly like his dad. His dad played for the Falcons for many years. He's a hell of a player. And he's just aggressive. He's a smooth back pedaler. He plays the ball well. He's got NFL genes. I think this is the guy that I would like to see Cleveland take at 26. I think he's a better prospect than Newsome and projects better, but he goes to that Chargers defense, and they can be really freaking dangerous out there. His coach now is he's the former Rams coach last year on defense. They hired him, Joe Staley. So he's a defensive guy, and he's going to teach this man. He made that Rams secondary good. He got a raw player, and Asante Samuel Jr. is that. Good pick for the Chargers. We got Rondell Moore here to the Arizona Cardinals. This is a guy I absolutely love. I've told you about. As a Cardinals fan, they may not have satisfied me in round one, but they got me in round two. This man may be 5'7" and 181, but he is mighty. He runs a 4.32 and has a 42.5-inch vertical, which you can see why when he squats 600 pounds regularly. That's what he squats, is 600 pounds. He may be 5'7", but he's a mighty little guy. He won Big Ten Big Ten receiver of the year as a freshman. Ohio State fans, you probably remember him running all over you guys. I remember watching it. It was pretty insane. This little dude just out there running all over you. And after that, he couldn't just stay healthy. He really couldn't. 2019, he had hamstring issues, missed the whole year. And 2020 was COVID, and he had some finger issues and some lower body issues where he only played a few games. He got a small sample size, but the year he played, 114 receptions for 1,258 yards and 12 touchdowns. And he had 2 more on the ground. This is a guy you give Cliff Kingsbury. They drafted Andy Isabella before. They've drafted Christian Kirk, and they've never developed. This is a guy you put in the slot. He'll run some underneath things for Kyler. Cliff will use him, and just a solid pick. This is a guy that, if he can just stay healthy, he can be a hell of a football player. Might see him on special teams, but Rondell Moore with Kyler Murray, 5'7". It'll be easy to remember him. Don't worry. Here we go to 52. I'll get your input on this one. This is Jeremiah Owusu or Koromoa, the Browns pick here. This guy fell to the second round. He had some, right before the draft came out, he had a heart rumor issue. The Browns cleared him. They cleared him. They felt comfortable taking him there at day 2. He's 6'2", 221, 6'5" wingspan with the 36-inch vert and a 10'4" broad jump. Dude's an athlete. He's a mix between a linebacker and a safety, and with what the division did in the AFC North, you needed guys on defense to go stop players, and this is a playmaker on defense. What do you think about this pick?
No, I definitely think that the Browns' hole this year is not on the offensive side. I think they need defense, and Taki isn't going to be the guy that gets defensive stops on third down. So I think that Browns investing their higher picks into their defensive side of the ball will be a very smart investment short term when you're talking about next year making that jump to the AFC Championship game, and long term getting these guys on 4+1 deals and getting them on second contracts.
Yeah, this is a guy that, like I said, Cleveland was thinking about taking him at 26. There were rumors he was going to go high 20s, and he fell all the way to the second round, and Cleveland got a steal. If this heart thing's all okay, they got a heck of a player, and he compares to Isaiah Simmons a lot. He's just a playmaking athlete on defense. The NFL, you can never have too much speed on the defensive side, and that's what you see. And especially you needed this man, Owusu Koromoa, to cover the next pick here I got, Pat Freiermuth, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Damn Steelers, they keep taking good players, and it's a problem. They got Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. They call him Baby Gronk for a reason. He compares a lot to him. He's just really smooth route runner, smooth hands, strong hands, will run you over. He's 6'5", 251, runs a 4.7, so he's not the fastest, but this is a guy where they got Vance McDonald or Eric Ebron this year. He'll be a guy, or in the future, you'll see him in Pittsburgh making plays on Sundays. And if Kyle Pitts didn't exist, this man would have been a first-round pick. This is a hell of a player, hell of a pick, hell of a value. Hate it that he went to the Steelers, but I got to respect it. They're making good picks. Here, the next two we're going to talk about, we got Dwayne Eskridge to Seattle and Tutu Atwell. Those were back-to-back picks at 56 and 57. These are really important because these are the team's first selections. They traded their first-round picks. The Seahawks for Jamal Adams, which I believe paid off, and the Los Angeles Rams, they traded this first-round pick for Jalen Ramsey. So I'd say they paid off in the end, but these are two guys, speed guys for the NFL. The NFL speed. These are two slot runners that they got burned. They're speed guys. Oh, I saw rumors he ran a 4.2, and then Dwayne Eskridge ran a 4.3 at Eastern Michigan or Western Michigan. These are two guys that questionable picks this high, but their speed and the NFL is going to it, and they draft for it. Here at 59 is the guy I thought should have went before these two receivers, Terrace Marshall. He went to the Carolina Panthers. This guy is 6'3", 205, and runs a 4.4 with a 39-inch vertical. He's just a freaking athlete. Seems to be a common trend for these receivers, but yeah, he's a hell of a player. He was a 5-star recruit, went to LSU. Played third fiddle there to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson for that 1 year. But when he got out of their shadow, he made some plays. He really did. This year, he made plays. I think he only played 5 or 6 games, I believe, but he opted out after it. He didn't have anything to prove. This man, he's smooth off the line. He's a strong hand catcher. Will go get the ball, and he tracks deep balls super well. He's got the speed to run right by. But the problem is he fell this far because he's sometimes lackadaisical. He's got all the talent in the world, but sometimes just seems like he doesn't care. But Joe Brady went to bat for his guy here. That was LSU's offensive coordinator. When Matt Rule got hired for the Panthers, they hired in Joe Brady, and he calls the plays. Joe Brady got his guy, and Robbie Anderson has 1 year left on his deal. This could be a solid replacement. Similar players, decent size, just deep threats, but this man can do a lot for you, and it's a hell of a value. And this was a guy talked about going at the end of the first round. He fell all the way here to the second round, almost at the complete end. Panthers got value, and they scooped it up. The best part is they traded back 2 times and still got their guy. They said that they're going to take him up in the 30s. I believe it was 39 they had, and then they traded back again, and they still got their guy. So credit to them. Here, the last pick of the second round, we got Kyle Trask to the Buccaneers. This is a guy that it won't be for a few years, but the Bucs got a guy to really develop. And this was hands down the QB 6 in this draft behind the 5 guys in the first. He's 6'5", 240. He's a pocket passer. He's not mobile, and that's one of the issues. That's why he fell. He's not mobile, but the kid, he put out a hell of a highlight tape this year. He was in the Heisman race all the way down to the end. He's smart. He's an accurate passer, and his only problem is he doesn't have mobility, and NFL teams value that. But Buccaneers got a nice little project here, and hopefully Brady can groom him before he leaves. Here at pick 88, we got Trey Sermon. He went to the San Francisco 49ers, which they actually traded up to take this man. In draft capital, that means a lot. He's 6'1", 215, but he's got a 6'6" wingspan, and he will just stiff arm you into oblivion. You saw it in the playoffs this year, the Big Ten championship for Ohio State. He started at Oklahoma. He transferred out, and the start of the year for Ohio State, they couldn't work him into the system, but the more and more he got worked in, he became a hell of a player at the end of the year and carried them in a lot of games. But this is a guy where Shanahan loves his running backs. He doesn't love playing just one. He'll play 4 or 5, and it pisses you off. But this will be a guy where one of the games this year, I feel like he'll go out and have 150 and 2 touchdowns, and you'd be like, damn, that was a hell of a pick. But this is a guy, he's got a bright future. It's just, are the 49ers going to use him? He's a decent receiver. He's hard to take down, and Kyle Shanahan may have a dude. They traded up to get him, so let's see. Also, we got Michael Carter Jr. This was a 4th-round pick we got all the way down here. The reason I'm telling you this is because he went to the New York Jets. And the New York Jets, they don't really have any good running backs. Well, good players in general until this year, but this is a guy, he's 5'8", he's 201, runs a 4.54. He's not the quickest, but he's shifty. He's quick in the little spots, and it works perfect for their outside zone scheme. They got Mike LaFleur in there. He's going to run that, and he fits them perfectly. He will be a player that you'll see on Sundays making plays. He's a good pass catcher, underrated runner. He played second fiddle to Javonte Williams, and he went with the 35th pick. So, guy's a good football player, really is. He had a few big games at North Carolina, but this is a guy where he can make some noise for the New York Jets. But he's the last guy we're going to talk about. Then we're going to go into the winners here.
Yeah, so
back to you, Crev.
Yep, thank you for pointing out the noble guys that they should pick up late in the fantasy drafts, and guys who we're going to see on Sundays make an impact outside of the first round that maybe not get talked about a lot by media or other. So we're going to break down the winners and losers. I'm going to list out the 3 winners, and then I'll give the floor to Nathan again so he can list out the 3 losers of this draft. So my first winner is the second pick of the draft, Zach Wilson, along with the New York Jets. They got Zach Wilson, BYU quarterback, obviously a good pickup, 56 touchdowns. 56 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, over 7,600 yards, 30 games in his career. I think he's going to be a real good piece for him. They also at 14 got Elijah Vera Tucker, and at 34 got Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. Just guys who can come into New York Jets, obviously not a great team, but make an immediate impact. Also, Vera Tucker's going to move to left guard because they got Mekhi Becton last year with their 11th pick. So I think that a lot of this youth going into New York Jets is really going to make them fight for the division at least. Even if Sam Darnold wasn't their guy and they're kind of hung over that, make them get a couple games and build up for this new draft next year and see if they can do anything and see if they can compete for the division title. My next winner is Matt Ryan specifically, but the Atlanta Falcons. There was a lot of quarterbacks going in early, the top 5 quarterbacks. Matt Ryan's probably glad that they didn't draft Justin Fields with that 4th pick, and they went and got Kyle Pitts. I think Pitts is a generational talent. Falcons didn't ditch Ryan and reach for a quarterback. They got the obvious best player for their situation. Pitts had 24 games in his college career, 100 receptions, 1,490 yards, 18 touchdowns, including 12 just last year. So I think this is obvious a best player available for Atlanta's situation, and I think that they did a great job drafting Pitts. My last winner is Urban Meyer, the head coach new of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's walking into a good situation where they had the number 1 pick, Trevor Lawrence, obviously their quarterback until he retires. I don't see Trevor Lawrence leaving Urban Meyer, and I don't see Urban Meyer leaving Trevor Lawrence. Also, I think Travis Etienne is a good pickup at number 25. Lawrence has won Natty Championship compared to Peyton Manning and Elway. He was 2nd place in the Heisman last season. He's got a 90 touchdown, 17 interception ratio in 35 games, also passing over 10,000 yards. Those are numbers that are video game numbers that people can't make up. So I think Lawrence is there to stay in Jacksonville and to give the AFC South fits for the next couple of years. And then Travis Etienne is the all-time ACC leading rusher with 4,952 yards in only 3 seasons with 78 total touchdowns. So I think Jacksonville is a real winner in this draft, along with New York Jets and Atlanta.
Totally agree with you on all those. They're great selections, and teams got bright futures. You draft young talent, you got good futures. Now, these are 3 teams that I feel like it's hard to do the whole draft because teams really had solid drafts. But I went with 3 here that really stuck out to me. And as I said before, the New York Giants, I thought it was just bad selection. You couldn't get Devontae Smith, so that's a loss right there in general. You trade back, and then you reach for a receiver. I mean, you got to give Daniel Jones some weapons, but you could have stayed at 11 and got Justin Fields, and Daniel Jones is still there. Hopefully Daniel Jones is the guy, or else you just passed on potentially franchise guy in Justin Fields. So I think that's a loss right there. Arizona Cardinals, another one. They were rumored to trade up for Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, just the receiver in general. They stayed there at 16, and they reached for a player. They really did. He may be a good linebacker, but I feel like they could have got him down at 24, 26 area. Some team could have traded up, but I guess they said, screw it. We'll take our guy. I trust Steve Keim, but it's a questionable selection for me. And, well, most importantly, the biggest loser has to be the Green Bay Packers. It doesn't matter what pick he did, like we said, just Aaron Rodgers comes out, says, I don't want to play for your franchise. It doesn't matter. You screwed him over in the past by drafting Jordan Love and A.J. Dillon. They haven't drafted a receiver in the first round since about 2008, 2007. That's a long time. And it's not the 19th century, 20th century anymore. You got to have playmakers in the 21st century of football. Aaron Rodgers has only had Devontae Adams. Sure, he has solid guys like Alan Lazard, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but get the dude some weapons. You've ruined it, and it's too late now. They're a big loser of this draft, and hopefully it works out for them, but I don't see it in any way, shape, or form.
No,
Here at the end, we got some total amount of players picked. This is something I find really interesting. this really shows you what schools develop the prospects, what conferences get the most talent out there. At the top, we got Alabama and Ohio State at 10 each. I mean, we saw them both in the national championship. That's really big. That's big-time talent. Number 2, we got, or tied for 3rd, we got Georgia and Notre Dame. Once again, 2 teams we saw at the top of the college football. And you have to have talent. They had talent. They got drafted to be good. Tied for 5th here, we got Florida and Michigan. Once again, 2 big-time programs. And then here at 7, we got LSU. And at number 6, we got tied with 6 players drafted. We got Kentucky, Penn State, and Pittsburgh. What sticks out to me on this list is we have Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, and Kentucky. Those are 5 SEC teams out of the list I just named off. So to all you people out there that shit on the SEC and say, oh, people blow them for no reason, look at that. 5 teams. Kentucky, of all teams, had 6 people drafted, and they play in the SEC. I don't want to hear it anymore. The SEC is the best conference. I don't care. They produce the talent. You see it on Sundays every year. They produce it. There's the numbers to see it. 5 teams.
No, yeah. When you talk about the SEC, it's just all around great. And those are fun when you talk about the SEC matchups because obviously you have outliers like Alabama that's just a dominant football program. But when you look past Alabama, those other 4 teams can beat each other on every single day. I mean, you saw Florida look like they had a path to the college playoffs and then blew it in their last game.
Yeah.
So over a
Marco Wilson blew it with throwing a shoe.
Yeah,
thank you. Thankfully, the Cardinals drafted him. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hell of a player, but
yeah, when you got those teams, I mean, 4 of those SEC teams, along with others, just have a dogfight every week. They match up with each other outside of Alabama, respectfully, because they're an outlier in its own in a football program. But the Packers take blowing this draft, I do agree with. I think they're one of, if not the biggest loser in this draft, losing your franchise quarterback and then not even drafting somewhat of an offensive replacement and reaching for a cornerback in the first round.
I will say, though, they did get Amari Rodgers. It's a solid selection, solid slot receiver, but yeah, you didn't get a top guy. It really don't matter. It's too late. Kiss Aaron Rodgers goodbye. He'll go join any other team.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is definitely – I don't see him suiting up in a Packers uniform next year at all. I don't even think it's a thought. But that's the end of our 2021 NFL Draft episode, podcast number 12 with Nathan Keener. His Twitter is at Nate23Keener. Some passionate sports takes all over when you talk about NFL, NBA, Dodgers fan. Definitely going to have more episodes with me and Nathan on the show. Just a lot of crazy sports takes that we go back and forth on, and it is way worse off of camera than on camera. But that is all the time we have for you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we're out of here.
Peace.
This Crev's Corner. The ball is in your court. Swish.